Welcome to the Bromley Adult Education College Digital Drop-In Podcast, getting you back to work with confidence.
Hello, I'm Jill Collier and welcome to episode 41 of the Digital Drop-In Podcast. Today I'm joined by Wendy Pearson, who is a therapeutic counsellor and mentor. Hello, Wendy.
Hi, Jilly.
Thank you for your time today. Now, you're going to have to explain to me what a therapeutic counsellor and mentor is, and kind of more importantly, how you got to that point. I understand you work with young people, how you got to the point where you felt that this service would be needed and helpful for young people. So if you can maybe give me a rough idea of what you do now as a counsellor and mentor and sort of how you got to that point, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
Well, thank you for inviting me to
You're very, very
speak
welcome.
with you today. So I started working with children and young people nearly 20 years ago in schools and then for two London local authorities. And I recognised that for some children, school and life was a little bit harder and that their needs weren't always met within the education
harder
system.
As in from a living background or an educational background? How are you identifying that it was harder for them?
I think I initially saw that within the education system, that even if they were very intelligent, very academic, that the school environment could be overwhelming for them.
Right.
Whether that be the social element or sensory sensitivities. So I was recognising at that stage that the children I was working with were autistic young people, or as we now think about neurodivergence, and those children who maybe have been autistic or have a diagnosis of ADHD. And so that became my area of interest. And from that point, I went on to qualify. I did a degree as a mature student, did a postgraduate certificate in autism to ensure that my knowledge was as wide as it could be. And then went on to work for local authorities as an autism outreach advisor.
Right. So can I just ask, 20 years ago or thereabouts, I'm afraid I just don't know in the educational system, was autism, ADHD, was it actually recognised then, or were you just seeing sort of spikes in children, or was it, were they identified within the school as already having these difficulties?
There were diagnoses in schools. I think we have a lot more diagnoses generally now, and that's because our knowledge and understanding has increased. I know there is talk about an epidemic of autism and ADHD diagnosis. It's not an epidemic, it's just that we now recognise that there are more individuals who may require help.
Right.
That don't necessarily.
It's a really good point that you've touched on, though, that is there an epidemic, or is it just that we, as we're just recognising it more in our children or in our students or whatever, and it's just being identified. Do you feel that's the case, and it's not that it's, I don't know, potentially diet or fluoride in the water or whatever you want to throw at it?
Yeah, no, it's understanding perhaps the wider, diversity of human experience, that we are all different. We'll have similarities to each other, and we have differences to each other, and the way we think and the way we process information is a difference, and we will all do that in different ways. And for some people, those that struggle, then they may go on to seek a diagnosis to get the recognition, maybe for themselves, to understand that this is why I find some of these things difficult because I'm autistic, or the other reason is to get support, because without a diagnosis it can be very hard to get the support that will enable them to reach their full potentials.
So in schools where you were offering some form of services to these young people, were you then seeing that some of them actually needed more than you could offer within the school environment to get them to reach, a further potential, even if it wasn't their full potential, to be able to get more out of their education and where they might go when they go into work? Is that sort of what happened, or?
Yes, yeah. I mean, obviously our services are all very limited. There's only so much funding available.
Yes.
And I think that was where I got to within the role that I was carrying out. I felt that I wasn't really making that much of a difference. And that was sort of what I wanted to be able to do. I wanted to be able to make a difference.
Yes.
So at that point, I think, that's when I decided that I would like to work independently, to be able to try and do something that was meaningful for me and that could make a difference to those young people.
It's so important, isn't it? Because people, when you are providing a service, or me as a teacher or whatever it is, the irony is that the biggest fulfillment is seeing the success in your student, and that kind of means more than the salary. And obviously we have to pay, but it is that feeling that you've done a good job with that individual, isn't it?
Yes.
So I guess that's what's happening here. You're doing your best within your constraints, but
yes,
in your heart you knew there was more work to be done.
Yes, yeah, and I'm working with the individual in a more holistic way, so supporting them to understand themselves,
right,
and their profile of strengths. These are the things that I'm good at, and these are the things I find difficult, and then being able to move forward in a way towards that. So
you took yourself off. Did that mean having to stop work completely to be a full-time mature student to get these extra your degree and qualification? Did you have to stop work completely to do that, or was it?
I went part-time, so right. I was fortunate enough to be able to stay in my job to reduce my hours. So I worked part-time and studied part-time, so that worked very well for a number of years. Yes. And then I then got to the point where I was able to leave, and it was I was able to set up and work for myself full-time. And that's what I've been doing.
And did you have a clear roadmap when you started as to where you wanted to end up, or did you just think, I know once I've been through these various sort of trainings to give me a complete picture, I'll not wing it, but I'll see where it takes me? Or did you 100% sure I'm here and I want to get there?
No, I think to start with, it was just that feeling that the feeling of dissonance within me. This doesn't feel right. I don't want to do this, and they're moving in that general direction. And it has evolved over time, and definitely my own practice has evolved and is still evolving.
Yes.
As I recognise the needs, and certainly the training as a counsellor has been more recent, as I recognised that I wanted to do that deeper work as well. So no, I don't think there was ever a clear picture of that's where I want to be. No. It has evolved and will continue to evolve. There's always more training that can be done.
Yes, absolutely. And I think experience. I mean, the more you do in anything, you have a greater understanding, don't you? I think qualifications only take you so far. It's that experience that's priceless, isn't it?
Experience, and I think also with it sitting with your own beliefs and values and what feels right. And I feel very fortunate to be in a position where I can do a job that I enjoy and get pleasure from, and fits.
And it's doing such a huge amount for these young people. So you're a therapeutic counsellor and mentor. So could I ask then, I think what you're saying is you started as a mentor and then you've gone on to counsel, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
So what is the difference between, so if somebody comes to you for mentoring, for example, is it possible to then go on for counselling, and what is the differentiation between those?
It's an interesting question, and one I get asked a lot. And I think it is quite a difficult question because there is a big overlap between mentoring and counselling. But the way I think about it is that mentoring is supporting you to understand yourself, to develop strategies to help yourself and to overcome your challenges in order to be able to get to where you want to go to achieve your goals.
Right.
Whereas counselling works at a deeper, more therapeutic level, can be around understanding your past, understanding that your experiences and the things that may have happened to you have led you to where you are now, and that sometimes going backwards to understand that deeper experience, reflection on over
Right.
where you are in your life and why you may be there, can then help sort of unravel and come to a clearer place of it's okay, this has happened to me, or this is my experience, but it doesn't have to be that way going forward.
Yes, it doesn't define you. That's in the
Yes.
past, and we can now move forward.
Yeah.
Right. So could you potentially be mentoring someone and feel you're not going to get far enough without going back and doing a bit of counselling to then enable them to move forward? Is that how it would work? Or
I guess it could work that way. I think now, as I say, my practice is still evolving, and I think going forwards I will be entering into a counselling relationship with all my clients.
Right.
Because we can do mentoring within a counselling relationship.
Yes. Right.
We can't do counselling within a mentoring relationship.
Right.
Counselling is a more regulated, ethical profession.
Right.
With
Yes.
governing bodies, whereas mentoring is still more of an unknown, unregulated profession.
But I guess also people are often coming to you just saying, I need help. They don't know if they need mentoring or counselling. I mean, if I was asked that question, I'd be, well, you're the professional,
Yes.
You tell me. So maybe it's just a case that people are coming for your help, and you kind of have to figure it out from there with them. But
yes, and through a counselling relationship we could do that, and if it were more the mentoring side of things that they needed, then we can still do that within that space.
So when you say you work with young people, is it predominantly that young person that seeks you out, or could it be potentially their parents that recognise they need help? What's the sort of, if there is a general way that people
again, as things have evolved, I think within my mentoring practice, so Your Autism Mentor was my mentoring practice, and that is evolving and will change this year into a new practice. But I think when that was my only offer, that yes, it was generally parents who would contact me. I don't work with younger children, I work with sort of adolescents, those in secondary school, and now adults as well. But I think, yes, at that time it was generally
Right.
Parents,
Yes.
But now with my wider counselling and mentoring offer, I get inquiries from autistic adults or neurodivergent adults who are looking for support for
Right.
themselves,
Yes.
as well as parents looking for support for their young people.
So although we say young people potentially going from maybe secondary school age, I guess there is no cut-off date, is there? I mean, age, as in if somebody kind of can be 20 or 30 or whatever and just recognise that they
Yes.
need help.
And excuse me, older as well, you know, for people in
Yes.
later life or
Yes.
mature adults who may recognise or read something or hear something that and may start to question their own identity and recognise that they may be neurodivergent themselves, which, you know, as we know, when we were at school,
Yes.
it wasn't really a consideration
No.
or an option for people to have a different way of learning or a different way of experiencing the world.
Yes.
But yeah, so that can be really empowering for a lot of older
Empowering is actually a really
adults.
good word, isn't it? Because when you do find out things about yourself in later life, it doesn't change you, but it just makes you think, now I get it. That's why I do that. Or it just enables you to understand yourself a bit more, doesn't it?
Yeah,
So empowering is exactly,
to make sense of yourself and why things may have happened in a certain way. Perhaps lots of clients will say, I can see now why that was difficult for me.
Yes.
If I'd known this at the time, I could have looked for support to get me through that difficult time.
I guess the only blessing is when we were at school, it was an awful lot easier, even if you didn't, really understand the program. When you left school, there was plenty of jobs and you just sort of fell into a job, whatever it was. Whereas now, and I see this with my daughter, they're all leaving university with fantastic degrees and there are no jobs.
No.
So if you've got that added sort of concern that you're only going to fit a certain type of job, or you could potentially struggle even to come across well in an interview, that's just another level, isn't it?
It's a huge problem. I work with quite a few young people, some at university, some having been to university and not been able to manage it, others in work or have worked and then not able to manage the working environment. And it is really difficult, especially in our current climate where jobs are really hard to come by. And autistic individuals, they've always had a really
statistically,
that's for autistic individuals, the figures haven't changed for years, and it's something like 30%, so like a third of autistic individuals are in full-time meaningful work, and that figure hasn't changed. I want to say over 10 years or so since I've been working in particularly in that field. So it's really difficult. So the barriers that are there for all young people are increased for autistic and neurodivergent individuals for many reasons, many reasons. Which
so are you saying that 70% of neurodivergent people are either not in work or they're just doing a job that they could do standing on their head? Because
a lot of them are underemployed, so they may get a job or may be encouraged towards a job that they're probably overqualified for,
right?
But that there is a certain amount of stereotypical views around autism, that autistic people can only do certain jobs, which is of course not true, but it does mean it's very limiting for lots of autistic young people and adults who want to work and would love to work. But as you say, that the interview process now seems to be so much more complicated than it was years ago. Face-to-face interviews can be incredibly difficult for autistic or neurodivergent job applicants, and although we have the Equality Act, which means that reasonable adjustments should be made available, that's not always the case.
No.
And it's a real barrier.
Such a shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
So hopefully with your mentoring services, or we'll stick with mentoring for the moment, you could potentially sort of mentor them through that so that they, feel more empowered to go for the jobs that they are suited to?
Yes. Again, I guess understanding their own profile of strengths. These are the things that I'm good at. These are the things that I can do and bring to a job. And these are the things that I'm going to find more difficult. So maybe that these are the reasonable adjustments that I might ask for, such as having interview questions in advance, knowing who's going to be interviewing me in an actual role, having perhaps a quiet space to be able to access, maybe able to use headphones if required, getting information in a written form rather than just shared verbally. It can be lots of small adjustments which aren't costly for anybody, but can make a real difference for those employees.
And with regards to helping young people when they're still in school, are you helping them with subjects or with just the general educational experience? What would make somebody think they would need your services?
Yeah, so it's not about the education side, not about the academic side at all, really. That's what the least part that I'm interested in.
Yes.
It's about enabling that individual to feel empowered, to recognise themselves and what they can do and the things that they find difficult, and enabling them to feel heard. So really listening to their perspective and what it means to be them, rather than making presumptions on them, which can often happen for, especially again, autistic individuals. So being there for them, listening to them, understanding their perspective, and I think that being understood is what can make the real difference. That I'm not wrong, I'm not. Being different is okay.
Yes.
We don't all have to fit the same mould. That it is okay. It's great to be me. I have lots to offer, and this is how I can move forwards.
And would they potentially struggle in classrooms, for example, because there's a lot of people in a classroom, or would they struggle with friendships, or there is no kind of complete?
I think it's a there's. If you had 50 different elements, each individual would have pick different elements of those. So, lots of my clients do struggle with friendships or have a lesser need for lots of friendships than other people.
I suppose that's a very good point, isn't it? They don't necessarily have the need for friendships.
And there often is that expectation. We want our young people to have lots of friends and be very social. Those things are really hard for some autistic individuals. So it's understanding what's right for them. And if
they can be more at peace with themselves than maybe some people have a lot of friends because they don't have that kind of inner confidence of themselves, and so all the time they surround themselves with friends, they feel they're part of something. But I guess with an autistic person, they may feel that they are enough.
And that they enjoy spending time by themselves. Often, my clients will have a higher need for alone time than they will for time with other people, because time with other people can be draining. So social interaction can be draining, and therefore they'd need that alone time to be able to regain their energy and to feel themselves again. For so many of my autistic clients, and I want to say particularly females, or more so girls and women, that they're often masking, so they're not being themselves in public or when they're with other people, because they don't want other people to see the real them, because they have been led to believe perhaps or picked up from society that that's not the way to be. So in order to fit in, you have to be a certain way, and therefore there's a lot of masking that will go on to put on a front and not be themselves, and that is draining. And that's when we, by doing that continually, that can be detrimental to mental health. And
do I dare touch on social media? Do you think younger people now see more what the person of their age and should be doing? Do they see that on social media, and perhaps feel again that is identifying even more reasons why they don't fit in? Or is that just a red herring?
No, I think it's huge, isn't it? So the influence of social media. I mean, I guess you could argue pros and cons, but thinking of the negative impact, and a lot of my clients just don't do social media at all, because it's just too much, and the expectations then that you have to live up to. You have to have 1,000 friends and you want to get 500 likes. It's just not realistic.
No.
So I think we could probably talk about that for hours. But
I suppose the positive is when you do start liking sort of posts about sort of autism and things, obviously the algorithm then sends you loads more. And so I guess the positive side could potentially be that then they see there's lots more people out there. Whereas 20 years ago, you sat in your bedroom thinking, why me? Whereas I guess there is that now, that channel, isn't there? So long as it's because there's also a lot of misinformation.
stuff out, misinformation, stuff out there that's not wouldn't be good for them.
Yes.
And again, another whole other area in with regard to mental health, there's stuff out there that is not helpful. But yes, finding other people like you, finding other people that maybe you have a shared interest with, or you can communicate with in a way that's right for you.
So, if somebody would need your services, do you have like a company name? Do you have a website? What are your details?
So my website is Your Autism Mentor. That is where people can currently find information about me and the services that I offer. As I say, that will be evolving this year. Over the next month or so, I hope to have a new website up and running, which will be Wendy Pearson Counselling and Mentoring.
Oh, you're going to completely change it?
Yes. So to have a wider offer, because I also do counselling in other areas as well as autism and neurodivergence. So the new website will have, the wider offer of services.
But that's, I salute you for that, because it's just too easy just to sit in your comfort zone and just say, well, this is what I've done for the last couple of years, so this is what I'll continue to do. To constantly identify, these gaps in people's sort of mental health, their education, however you look at it, to be able to do anything to help anyone kind of bridge that gap in some way is, it's a phenomenal thing to do, isn't it? I mean, I know it will be fulfilling for you, but for all the people that you help, it's life-changing. It's potentially life-changing.
And as I say, I feel lucky to be able to do to do this job. I guess there is also that I have to charge for my work, and therefore only people who can afford to pay can access myself or other other counsellors, and that the services, whether that's education, National Health Service, or other services, are so limited that there aren't people on waiting lists often for many years to get counselling or support through the NHS, and that's just the way it is. So I guess I'd like things to be a little bit more balanced, perhaps, that more people can access services that they might need, and I do offer some reduced cost services, but I guess I'd like to be able to rebalance.
I know it is a real shame, and yes, I think I recognise anything I need to get done medically, you've almost got to save up and buy that procedure now, because you have to wait too long. Same on education. I seem to remember some years ago, like an ADHD sort of certification. It's not called that. I can't think what it is called now, but was like a 5-year wait list.
I think it still is.
Yes, and so you think of a child being kind of told in school at 11, but they're not getting that diagnosis until they're potentially doing their A-levels. It's a long wait, isn't it?
And it's too late, for that period of time. There's such a lot happens over that period of time. They don't have the support that they might need, then therefore they might not be able to reach their potential.
Sometimes, and I know it's not a case of stretching the purse further, but sometimes you do have to bite the bullet and just recognise that this is going to take priority over a car, a holiday, or whatever you're saving for, and do it. But I do totally accept that I know it's a huge expense for family. And would it even potentially run in families? Could you have a family that has 2 or 3 children, or it's not genetically?
The evidence now, the research now shows that there is a tendency for autism neurodivergence to continue in families. So yes, often families have more than one child with a diagnosis, maybe just slightly different diagnosis. We now have a greater diagnosis, overlapping diagnosis, or dual diagnosis for autism and ADHD.
Yes.
Lots of young people are getting both diagnoses.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of need, and a need for services to fulfil that need. But yeah,
with a magic wand.
Yes, with our magic wand,
then
everything
at some
would be
point
wonderful.
in the future, obviously it does take a long time for things to be recognised within the education system.
Yes.
And it's not going to happen overnight, is it?
No, and there's some great work, there's great work out there.
Yes.
It's just not consistent across, the whole system, the education system.
No.
There's the great work going on with in some schools and local authorities, and but yeah, not enough.
No,
it's spread too thinly.
And if people do need your services, am I right in thinking you run it face to face, but you also do sort of Zoom if they're not in your area? You can do it sort of via via video.
Yes. A lot of my work is online, and work with clients all around the country now. Really,
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely changed how things work. But yeah, I'd say probably 60% of my work, maybe 70% of my work is online, and then the rest face to face. And online work can be really helpful for a lot of autistic clients, because they might not like to be in the space with an individual, so it's easier for them to stay in their own environment. And I often work with clients without the camera on. If they're more comfortable working in that way, that's fine with me, so long as they're in a quiet, private, safe environment. That's what's important.
I just find it so interesting, Wendy. I could talk to you for hours about this, but I think just identifying the need, and any young people that you help, I'm pretty sure it's life-changing for them. So I do thank you for for doing this work and identifying how you can help some young people. Is there anything I should have asked you that I haven't, or do you feel it's we've kind of covered what you do to help them?
Yeah, I think so. As you say, I think we'll probably go into more depth and talk for hours about it. I guess, I don't know, just to say that, if we could end up in a place where everyone's recognised for being themselves, rather than put into a box of, what other people think about them.
Yes.
If we could just recognise that we are all different, whether we have a diagnosis or not. Let's value people for who they are, rather than try to put them in that box.
You are so right, and we all need to think that, don't we?
Yes.
Well, thank you, Wendy. I do truly appreciate your time.
Thank you, Gilly.
Okay, thank you.
This podcast has been produced by Jill Collier for Bromley Adult Education College. For help with all your job searching needs, do visit one of our digital drop-in venues. Our free sessions are advertised on our website at www.baec.ac.uk or telephone 0208 659 7976. We offer free use of computers for job searching, advice on creating a winning CV, plus lots of short training courses to gain skills in the digital world. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast to receive notifications of new episodes.